Good day, guys. I think we are live. I will just start by sharing the screen. Then I think we can go over the presentation. Please confirm that you can see the screen and the PowerPoint presentation that is being shared.
Confirmed, it's visible.
Thank you very much for that confirmation. Good day, colleagues. We are Group 15. We have been tasked to present on web application hacking. I have with me my other three colleagues, Munande Task, Msiteri Leona, and Kaguda Shina. By way of introduction, my name is Tsashe Mzata, and I am the group leader for Group 15. So I think I'll just start on just going on just defining what web applications are, confirm that you are now on slide number 2, and you are seeing a slide titled "What web applications?" Members, if you could confirm. Members, confirm that my screen is moving.
Confirmed.
Thank you very much, Task, for that confirmation. So what we are saying is that web applications are basically applications that run on web browsers to carry out particular functions. These web applications have 3 layers: web servers, the program content that is also hosted there, and also a backend interface. So this slide is a high-level summary of the Word document that we will also be submitting at the end of this video. So that Word document essentially contains all the references of where we got all this information from. We are aware that plagiarism is a very serious academic offense, and we've tried our best to avoid that. So I will move on to slide number 3, which is titled "What is web application hacking?" which is, I believe, the main objective of this presentation. So what we are essentially saying is that really programmers can make mistakes while they're making these web applications, and this could lead to certain vulnerabilities which can be exploited by black hat hackers. So what this type of exploitation include what are known as SQL injections, cross-site scripting, cross-site request forgeries. So my colleagues, for the rest of the presentation, will be taking each element, defining how it works, and also how it can be presented. So I will just go on the next slide, which in essence is looking at cross-site request forgery, which is also known as session writing. Well, this is a type of attack in which authorized users themselves used as weapons to send malicious requests produced by attackers. So in essence, we're saying that you may be just logging on innocently, but however, you are unaware that while you are sending requests to servers, you're also being used to exploit the certain vulnerabilities that are also in a system. So the motives are usually for cross-site request forgery is really to cause harm. So what we are really saying is that there are really 3 prerequisites that must be satisfied by cross-site request forgery. Number 1, the attacker wants to carry out desirable activity such as changing of passwords or transferring money or having access to certain information that they shouldn't have access to. and also to identify the use of cookie-based session processing that are in place, and also a third one that is highlighted there. So we have also in our research gone a step further to say what are the possible ways in which cross-site request forgery can be combated. And number one on that list, I include number one on that list. Number one on that list include application developers using CSRF tokens in HTML forms for requests for key operations. Also, number two, we are saying that really avoiding the use of HTTP GT method for important operations like create, update, and also delete activities. Also, number three, we're saying through the means of same site attribute of the HTTP set cookie response headers. So I'll go on to another ways in which web application can take place, and that is through SQL injection. By SQL injection, we are basically saying that the attacker executes malicious SQL statements that we have access to the backend of the server, giving access to information that unauthorized information. So we're saying that really this access is done through the use of malicious SQL statements. So I think we have seen that this is not a new phenomenon, and really we're saying that we've also researched that SQL injections attacks were to blame for about 25% of all compromised records, according to this is according to Verizon 2020 report. We've also highlighted this in the Word document that we have submitted. So we've also gone a step further to say what are the possible ways in which SQL injection can be prevented. And number one, we're saying input validation. Number two, we're saying parameterized queries, whereby we're saying that the system developers, the developers themselves can just only execute a number of predefined queries, such that no other queries can be run to have unauthorized access to the backend. We are also saying that SQL injections can be prevented by using stored procedures. Can also by another method called escaping, and also web application firewalls. Then also, last but not least, administrative privileges, in which we are saying that really not everyone should have access to the backend. Only a few members, maybe a database administrator or certain individuals, very few of them can have privileges to carry out certain operations or to run certain queries on the web application. So in this moment in time, I'll just hand over to the next presenter in the group, who's going to touch on cross-site scripting. Thank you very much. Mr. Tusk.
Thank you very much, Naje. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. Tusk Mnande. I'm going to take you through cross-site scripting. A cross-site scripting is a client-side injection attack. The XXX occurs when an attacker adds a code to a trustworthy website so that it will run when the victim loads the website. So what we mean by this type of attack, we are saying a hacker may compromise the link, for example, or website, so that the user can be directed elsewhere. A stored XXS occurs when an attacker injects a malicious script that is then saved in the database and executed by the user's browser whenever the user attempts to access the database in any way. Can you move to the next slide, please? There are various ways to combat the cross-site scripting. Here we are going to look at the ways like input validation, whereby we check whatever we're going to input on maybe the search queries and the web servers that our queries are directed to. Then we have also what we call cookie security. There are some ways in which by which attackers can do their malicious activities, such as by what we call cross-site scripting. They can alter the cookies that are saved in the web browsers. For example, the IP addresses, such that when the browser sends queries to the servers, they are directed to a different server altogether. We can also use what we call web application firewalls as a method of combating the XXS. We can also avoid the HTML inputs. I leave this time to the next presenter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tasky. My name is Leona Msiteri, and so I'm going to take you through insecure communication is another technique. So the entire process of moving data insecurely from point A to point B is covered by this attack. Attackers make use of man in the middle, where an intruder intercepts the insecure traffic between systems, as it includes communication between the mobile devices, mobile apps, servers, and between mobile devices, and also other devices. So it can compromise data integrity, data confidentiality, and origin integrity are the typical dangers of unsecured communication. You can move to the next slide. So there are also ways to combat these insecure communication related attacks. And for these examples, we have the weak handshake authentication. So we are saying when there is a handshake, there is a synchronization and acknowledgement. So when it is weak, this communication is compromised, and the web is prone to a hack. Then there is also privacy information leakage and lack of certificate inspection. So the usage of audio infrared, which is called the GSM, TCP, IP, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth by mobile devices are all included in this security risk. So the ways to combat are so many, and maybe we can move to another slide. If the mobile app discovers an invalid certificate, we notify the users through the user interface. And if at all possible, we encrypt any important information separately before submitting it to an SSL channel. Then we can also utilize certificates that are signed by a reputable CA provider. So another one is to apply the SSL or TSL to the transport channels that the mobile app will use to send sensitive data, such as session tokens or other data to the backend or a web service. So that's it for insecure communication. I hand over to the next presenter. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Leona. My name is Sheena Kaguda, and I'm going to take you through local file intrusion and how we can combat local file intrusion. So local file intrusion is a method for including scripts in server-side programming where the attacker actually deceives the web application into exposing private files on a web server using LFI. So after a successful LFI, various web application attacks such as cross-site scripting are often possible. File inclusion takes use of the fact that a file path is always regarded as trustworthy when it is entered into a web application. And in an instance where the code is weak, the local file intrusion can then be injected through this file location. If you can move on to the next slide. So how then can we prevent local file intrusion? There are actually 3 ways of preventing this. The first one is ID assignment, whereby we need to be sure that each ID path and record are secure in our databases. We also need to make sure that we've optimized the server instructions, whereby we enhance the instructions by ensuring that the server will provide download headers automatically rather than just running the files in a given directory automatically. And the last way of preventing LFI is what is called whitelisting, where we only use files that have been verified and are on the whitelist. If you can move on to the next slide. So in conclusion, what have we learned about web hacking? The lessons learned here are that every company or an online entity must think about and implement a clear protection strategy in the face of today's constantly changing web application assaults. There's a lot happening on the internet with everyone digitalizing and making use of the internet, and people are prone to a lot of web hacking in terms of their corporate sites. So it's always important to validate the inputs that are coming from the web application server and to be proactive in determining the best strategy for securing the web application side. So this is our presentation on web application hacking, and we hope that it's been enlightening on what is web application hacking. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Sheena, for the presentation. Thank you, colleagues, for the presentation and also touching on the key elements. So at this moment in time, I think I will stop the recording. I'll stop the recording